historian and good friend of mine, Webster Tarpley, pops in with us to give us his take on what's happening in Thailand. Webster.
Alex, I think Thailand is basically a mess, and here's what it is. You have these two parties, right? You have the red shirts who demand the return of the exiled Prime Minister Thaksin, and they've been engaging in some protests, but also some violence. Then you have the government, which is this guy Abhisit, representing the privileged classes, basically. You have to remember that in Thailand, the army is traditionally a big political power, and you have a monarchy. You have King Bhumibol, who is now pretty old, but he was quite a firm hand over quite a few decades. Now, Thaksin, the exiled guy that the red shirts want to bring back, when he was in power from 2001 to 2006, he did some good things. He got the International Monetary Fund out of the country, always good. He instituted a healthcare system. He also gave farmers a moratorium on debt. They got debt relief from this guy. The problem with this is that the red shirts of today seem to be less a force for a program in the way that you might conclude from, what Thaksin did, more of a force for chaos than for anything specific. You've also got to put this in the context of China, right? Because they're close by. Thailand is one of the string of pearls, one of the countries that China would like to have good relations with. China wants stability. They want predictability. They're willing to compromise with some pretty ugly people.
So more Western encirclement of China.
I'm not sure. Look, it's a little bit more complicated. Here's what I would say right now. If you look at the Chinese coverage on Thailand, they don't seem to choose sides very clearly. What they do is deplore the fact that the society is breaking down, right? That democracy has failed, that you've got essentially the breakdown of the political system, and you're headed for chaos. And I would also stress the world economic depression in the background is fueling chaos in many countries. So with this, you might say that Thailand is on its way to being some kind of a permanently failed state. The Wall Street Journal of this morning wants the existing government to step down, to resign. So that's clear enough. But I think they want that with the idea that Thailand will descend into chaos, and that will become a problem for China, right? Chaos, refugees, and so forth. So, again, I think this is really, really a mess.
All right, we got about 2 minutes left. We haven't talked to you in about a week. The deterioration with the euro, with the different Germany now threatening to pull out or issue a new mark state. Where do you see that going?
Well, this is also chaos now, but this is very clear. This is the attack of the hedge funds. The hedge fund hyenas using credit default swap derivatives are continuing to attack Greece and the euro. And the thing that the Europeans have got to do is pull themselves together, kick out the U.S. hedge funds, ban hedge funds, or as close as they can to that, and do something like ban credit default swaps. Unless they do this, they will indeed collapse into chaos. And it won't be an orderly retreat from the euro. It'll be just a chaotic breakdown, and that's not good for anybody.
Well said. Are things deteriorating quickly, more quickly than they were last week, or any other developments on the economic front?
Well, you've got the continued pressure, right? And it's essentially a bunch of shorts, right? People are shorting the euro, and again, nowadays they don't do a sort of old-fashioned short. They do the credit default swap as a short, and they do that behind the screen of these hedge funds. You can be sure that the main zombie banks, J.P. Morgan and Bank of America and so forth, they're all up to their necks in this. And the irony is that Greece is more viable than the bankrupt zombie banks that are attacking Greece. That came out with Iceland. Once they had said no, the books got opened, and it turned out it was the banks that were in trouble, and then Iceland didn't know the money. In the last minute, a little silly side note, but I want to correct it if it's wrong, because I got a few emails and saw a YouTube comment. I had read a book that you had written on history, and I had read that you had a doctorate in history, and so I called you Dr. Tarpley. Right.
And I'd read that in other books that were mentioning you. You'd never really talked about it, but you are a doctor, correct?
Yes, right. PhD in history from Catholic University of America, especially in specialty in the Venetian history of the 17th century. And if you want to go to WorldCat, the sort of World Library Catalog, you can see my my work there. My
sure, and you're a
PhD
Fulbright
dissertation.
scholar and have a bunch of other degrees and are a great
Sure.
scholar. I'm just tired of people making stuff up because I knew you were had a doctorate of history.
The one thing is, I have a doctorate in history, and that's it, right? That's
Yeah.
the one that I have. I don't have any others.
Okay, not a big issue. What matters is your predictions, the books you've written have all come true, and that's why we have you on here almost on a weekly basis. And all 4 of your books are available at Infowars.com. Webster, great having you on with us, Dr.
Bye-bye.
Tarpley. All right, thank you so much. See, folks, I didn't make it up, okay? I was reading another history book that was quoting Dr. Tarpley in it and mentioned his degree in Venetian banking history.